So it looks like I used the variable dfny. All right, that's fine. We normalize ny trend underscore trend into dfny. That's what I do here. All right. So I'm going to use JSON normalize again. Again, awesome function. Can't talk highly enough about this function. Right, and now I have a dfny table, a data frame, but look what happens. I have a column. I just have a. I have one row, and I have about 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. What the hell is going on? Right. So I basically have this table right here. I want to see what's trending, but I just got a JSON object which just had one row and 4 columns. What's happening? Take a look at locations and trends. There's no normal value there. You guys see that? You see what's really there? Some sort of bracket, squiggly braces, brackets, squiggly braces. If you look more closely, it's a JSON object in locations. Within the pandas table, within the cell value, it's not a string, it's not an integer, it's another JSON object. What's happening here? What's happening here is that this particular object, that when we call this function .place, the object JSON object we get back is a JSON object with 2 other JSON objects inside of it. When you use JSON normalize, it just normalizes the JSON object you give it. It doesn't do any kind of nested normalization. It doesn't go through the whole JSON object saying, okay, where are other JSON objects? Let me normalize it. That's our job. All right. So here now, we have, let me actually go over here. Locations here, this is going to be the location basically, if you normalize it, of the Twitter data you're getting for whatever it's tweeting, right? Whatever's Twitter, whatever is the top Twitter things being tweeted about right now. So in locations, that's fine. I know it's New York. Trends right here, that is what it's all about. I want the trends. That's the column that has the JSON object, that has the data I care about. So let me go and get it. To get it, I simply call that table dfny. I call dot trends or bracket quote trends, whatever you want, and I get the output I want, right? But again, go back here. Let me close up some of these. All right. If I want dfny dot trends, right? And that gives me a JSON object. But if I run type on this, it's another series. It's another series, right? I don't want to normalize the series. I want to normalize the value inside the series. I want to normalize. I want that actual JSON object. I need that JSON object. So the other thing I can do, as you guys have learned, right? So there's 2 ways to do this. Again, I'm going to show you guys a way in the slide. I can do this. I can do dfny dot trends, which is a series, right? Because this time I called the whole column. So basically, it gives me, oh, let's say if there was like 100 values, it would give you like 100 values, and they're all going to be basically erased at this point once you do dot dot values on it, right? But if I just take the first one, bracket 0, that's going to give me dot values gives me the array of that series trends, which is essentially a column from the dfny table. And 0 just says, okay, give me the first value there. It's actually the only value there. And now when I run it, I can now normalize df trends into a table. Df trends is now a table. We'll take a look at that in a second. The other way I could do this, guys, as we just talked about, right, is we could use LOC again, and I could give the index value again, right? If you type dfny again, you'll see that is just a single row with just one index value being 0. So if I say, okay, the ny, I'll call it nyJSON object is basically going to be dfny.loc bracket 0, comma, and the name of the column that I want, which is trends, right? And if I do this, I have this object called nyJSON. If you do type on nyJSON, it comes back, it says it's a list, but that's actually essentially our JSON object. It's actually a list of JSON objects if you want to think about it. So now I can use that as well, all right? So I'll call that df trends 2. I run this, and I have another table df trends 2. Same exact table, same exact table. I just ran it. I just did it 2 different ways just to show you guys, right? Line 71, I didn't do that in my slides. I did line 67. But, I mean, they're both there so you guys can see the interplay between how you slice and dice and the results you can get back and what type of results are they, actually. All right, so here, let's look at df trends now, finally. I click on this, and awesome. It now has a bunch of columns, not that many columns. It has basically index, name, promoted content, query, tweet volume, URL. You see that? Name, promoted content, query, tweet volume, and URL. Name is basically the topic that's being tweeted about, all right? And you'll notice some of these tweet volumes that have an NAM, they have no values there. I think this is because we use the free API and for whatever reason that they don't have a tweet volume, but some of them have a lot. Some of them have a lot, right? So I close this out. Let's go back to my slides. And we can see obviously what's trending in my slides is going to be different than what's trending right now live and what's trending for you guys depending on when you run this, right? But the tweet volume basically is how many times how many tweets have been tweeting about this particular topic or this particular hashtag. For you guys that don't use Twitter or a lot of other social media, firstly, congratulations. Second, that's usually how they like to talk about have groups or people talk about certain topics using the hashtag, right? So hashtag, if you always talk about a certain topic and put that hashtag in there, it'll trend. But you don't have to put the hashtag in there also. Twitter also tracks certain words and phrases, right? Certain words and phrases. So in my case, right? Oh, excellent. So at this point, what I want to do is I use this as an opportunity to show you guys how to save different objects. So in my case over here, let's say I have this df trends table, and for whatever reason, I want to save that table for later use. I might want to go back and check the individual tweets of whatever's trending at the moment, that particular moment, for whatever reason, whatever project or analysis I'm doing. How do I save that table? All right, this is where we talk about where I show you guys how to actually save pandas tables in your hard drive. You just use a simple command called call the table, df trends, and then call this function called .to_pickle, and you just name it that table in your hard drive, anything you want. The only catch here is you must give it an extension .pkl. Basically stands for pickle. All right. So in this case, I'll save it as df trends. Now, before you do that, I'll do this live for you guys. Make sure you're cognizant of what folder you're pointed to. Here, I'm pointing to user/Wajgilani. That's not my class folder. If I save this table or from a class, or let's say I save the table for some sort of analysis, I want to save it in my particular folder. So for this class, so here I go to my black folder up here, all the way in the top right, click on that. This nice GUI pops up. I want to choose my class. I click on documents. No, that's not it either. That jumped the gun. So I do, for my class there, BAP, summer, and now I click on open. You're just selecting the folder where you want to store the pandas table. So I click on open. You'll see the URL up here, right? And now what I'll do is I'll do my pickle. I'll do df trends.to_pickle, right? And I simply just give it the name I want. I can call it df trends. I could call it Batman. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that extension must be there, the .pkl. I run this. Now if I go to a folder, for my class. You guys can see now, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to see, but now you have this object there called dftrends.pkl. And if I want to read that back in, right, I'll call it, I'm going to call it Batman. Here I call it dftrends, I'll just call it Batman. That's when the name is something different. You simply just use the pandas package PD and use a function called read pickle. So if I do, let's say I'm going to read it into a table called Batman, and I'll do pd.read underscore pickle. And I simply put the name in there. And now you'll see there's a table called Batman up there, and it's the same table. It's the same table. So this is how you can save your pandas tables and read them back again. Why is this coming in handy? Like I said before, I had this really big architect in New York City as one of my students, and he would be loading up massive Excel sheets to do analysis on for his company. And I mean, it's literally like a million rows, and it would take him like 15, 20 minutes to load those Excel sheets in. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop that. Load it all in once, and then save the table. And for any guys in your other classes or your internships or your work or whatever you're doing, you can save these tables, read them back in, and work with it. For him, it would take 15 to 20 minutes, massive Excel sheets, to read in these Excel sheets of CSV files and create these pandas tables off of like a lot of Excel sheets. But once you create that pickle file, once he saved the pandas object, to read the pandas table back into his computer would take like 15 seconds, right? That's how powerful and efficient pandas is. Yes, pandas is a massive memory hog, but with that memory exploitation, you get incredible speed and flexibility. Incredible speed and flexibility. All right. So in this case, here, that's basically how you save these tables. Comes in handy a lot. I do it all the time when I'm working. All right, now, let's, oh, what happened? I didn't look at the, did I go out of order? Yeah, I kind of go out of order. But here, we have the table. I want to show you guys some sort of functions. I throw this up here. You guys feel free to knock this out whenever you want. You guys can mess with your own Twitter. Obviously, you all have your own Twitter account now. You guys can control your Twitter account from this functionality. Like here, you can change your status. There's invasion at the border. Someone get Jon Snow. I can change my status at will using API statuses.update. I can also get all my timeline from all my different statuses on my particular timeline using api.status home_timeline. Again, these are just some simple functions I'm showing you. The only reason I bring this up is because corporations and companies, you'll see them tweeting things out all the time or changing their statuses. You guys think a lot of times those people? They're not. Sometimes there's code in the background seeing what's hot and responding accordingly. In some countries, in some areas, I think even in our country, particular train companies or plane companies, they obviously they have a social media presence, and they'll be tweeting, oh, this flight's leaving this time, this flight's leaving that time. It's all automated. It's all automated. So on their Twitter feed, they're gonna change their status, flight, let's say 123, it's boarding now, right? It's all automated. It's all automated. And you guys can have actually a lot of fun with this because one cool project some data scientists do is making a Twitter feed that's constantly tweeting about what's trending and trying to make it funny or relevant, and using machine learning to do it so that it looks like that Twitter feed is talking about current events, and it looks like it's a person doing it, but in actuality, it's not. In actuality, it's not. So that's a cool project. I know some of you guys have capstones coming up. That's a cool idea right there, using Twitter to do it. But basically, these are the different functionalities right here, right? And you can obviously get all your tweets and mess around with it. I'll leave this, guys, for you guys to play with, right? Going back to the DF trends table. Going to the DF trends table. Dot columns. First of all, if I were to type dot columns right here, Oh God. Stop. If you do .com like I showed you before, it gives you all the column names. You can see all the column names right there, right? And what do I want to do? I want to see what are the what are the five most, um, what do I say? I want to see what are the five most talked about things right now in New York City. That's basically what I'm getting at, right? You guys remember the n largest function, right? I'm simply going to use the n largest function on the tweet volume, and this will give me the five, right? This will give me the five largest tweet volume values for all the columns. Right, and if you see in your result, you see a whole bunch of things come back. It's kind of a mess, right? It's hard to see because, again, it's cutting off the column. So we want to basically say, okay, I want the n largest, but I just want these columns. So now we're combining the n largest command with also the bracket column selection methodology. So we can not only use this function to choose the five top rows, the 5 rows with the highest amount of tweet volumes, but I can choose which columns I want to see from those 5 rows as well. And the rows I want to see basically is name and tweet volume. That's why I did the columns up here to see what I'm looking at. So I want basically name and tweet volume. Oop, I must have misspelled it. Go back to trends. Oh, yes, I have a typo. What's my typo, ladies and gentlemen? If I were to select just one, let me select just one column. Right? If I were to select one column. Cool. It's showing me the 5 rows, largest rows, and it's showing me their tweet volumes. Excellent, because I selected just the tweet volume. But if I wanted to select the name and the tweet volume, remember the name column tells me what's being talked about. How do I do that? I'm selecting now more than one column. What is the rule when you are selecting more than one column? Must use an additional bracket and the comma. Right? Again, this is reinforcing what you guys have learned in Lab 1 of working with pandas. Excellent. So now I have what's being tweeted about. Ah, yes. Bolton, America, apparently. The Supreme Court. Supreme Court came with a landmark deal on gay rights on, I think, in the work environment. Or they upheld it. I think the law was there, but they upheld it. Beethoven, apparently. J. Cole. I have no idea who J. Cole is. J. Cole. All right. And obviously, this is much more relevant than Bolton actually came out with a book. I don't know why America's trending. Probably linked with Bolton. This is much different than what's being tweeted about when I ran this. Here it was Jordan, Bernie, Kylie, Chloe, Tristan. Okay? And I had to ask my students, what the hell? Bernie, it was Bernie Sanders. This is, by the way, 2016. The guy lost again. Can you believe how long it's been? And my students are like, I'm like, what the hell is Jordan, Kylie, Chloe, and Tristan Thomas? And my students told me, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, this is the Kardashians. These two are Kardashians. This guy, obviously, I know Tristan Thomas, he's a basketball player. I think he was dating this Kardashian. This is not a Kardashian, but it's this Kardashian's best friend. And they actually, so these two were dating or married or something. And this friend of this Kardashian made out with this guy, the basketball player, Tristan Thomas, who was on the Cavs at the time. Oh, I think he's on the, whatever. So, along with Bernie Sanders, those were the things that are trending in New York City. So, yeah. It is when moments like this, I always like telling my students, listen, Trump may not be the president we wanted if you didn't vote for him. But whether you voted or didn't vote for him, Trump is the president we all deserved. Okay? He is the president, right or wrong, that we all deserved in this nation. Why? Because this tells you why. This tells you why. Because we are now a nation of sports and reality shows, quote unquote reality shows. That's why, right? Now, let's look at what's happening now in the country. We're talking about Bolton, America, Supreme Court, Beethoven, and J. Cole. Okay, in New York. So things are getting better. Things are getting better, and we're talking about things that are more relevant. So it kind of worked having Trump as president. It kind of made us all grow up, I think, a little bit. Again, right or wrong. I don't care if you voted for him or didn't vote for him. Looks like it's working out some way, one way or another. All right. So that's what's being tweeted for me. Well, you guys, what's being tweeted for you for when you guys run is gonna be different. And I'm looking at New York, guys. Have fun. Run in different cities, different locations. Minnesota, Michigan is probably gonna be talking about what's going on with the case with the cop that murdered I forgot his name, that murdered the African American guy that kicked off the whole Black Lives Matter. And the whole Black Lives Matter actually is going on in Minnesota. They're talking about defunding the police, changing everything. So a lot of things are going on. If you were to look at Minnesota, if you check out that city in Minnesota, what's trending in Minnesota is probably different than New York, even though it's happening all over the world, mostly all over America. Right? So that's basically how we do that. Now, let us grab statuses. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Now what I wanted to show you guys is let's get to something that's more powerful functionality. The search tweets function. The search tweets function basically literally allows you to search the tweets of it on a certain topic. So for example, let's say I wanted to let's take this a step further. Bolton is being trended, right? It's the number one thing being talked about, at least in New York City. Now let's say I want to see all the tweets, or at least the top 100 ones, the most recent 100 ones on the topic Bolton. How do I do that? Enter this feature right here, the .tweets feature. And this is how it works. All right? Scroll to the side. Okay, firstly, let me go to Trump. Sees old news. It's all about Bolton right now. All right, so this is how it works, guys. I called it the variable I'm going to put the result, the JSON object in, is SR. In my slides, it's search result. I'm just making it smaller so we can see. All right, and let me explain to you how this function is being used. All right, well, first, the Q is basically you know, this is the parameter that's basically saying, okay, which topic you want to search for on Bolton. That's the number one thing being tweeted about. When I ran this, I want to in New York, I want to see the tweets, the most 100 recent tweets. Count, I think by default, when you do this, you get 20 tweets back. I want to max it out at 100. That's the largest amount of tweets I can get. I'll show you guys tricks on how to get more, but that's right now is the largest I can do. So it's going to be the 100 most recent tweets on on Bolton. And now tweet mode underscore mode extended. What does this mean? Originally, when Twitter came out, it only allows you to tweet to 128 characters, right? Later on, they said, no, that's not enough. People have a lot to say. Let's make it 256 characters, right? So now when I get the tweets and I want to see all 256 characters, I have to explicitly say, hey, give me the extended version so I can see all 256. I run this, you know you're getting a JSON object back. SR is a JSON object, right? So now I want to normalize it. And I get a table back DFSR. Again, DFSR is just a single row and so many different columns, right? So many different columns. In fact, the one I want, you get this back. The one I want is the statuses column. If you scroll all the way to the right, not all the way to the right, let's go. Where are you, statuses? There we are. There, statuses, in that there's a JSON object. That's the JSON object I want. That's the JSON object, that's going to have all the tweets. All right, so how do I get that? I showed you guys 2 different ways to do it, right? You can do it this way or the other way using the LOC. It's up to you, right? And I'll create this new table, pandas table, that actually has all the statuses. I run this, I now have my DFC table, and you'll notice it has 100 rows. 100 rows because I got the 100 latest tweets from that topic, Bolton topic. All right. Do that again. All right, now. Okay, now. DFT is extremely large. If you go here, you'll see that it has 307 columns. It might have 100 rows, but it has 307 columns. What are we supposed to do with that? You guys remember the trick I showed you? If you select just one row, right? If you select just one row, again, I don't even have to do all this. If you just select one row, right? That's going to give you a series back. That series I can view in Spider very easily. So let's call this, I'm just going to say dd dfcst dot loc and give me back the, what's row? The first, second row, doesn't matter. I'll take the first one. All right? And dd now is up here, and it's a series. I click on this, and now look at what happens is when you select just one row of Pandas table, it creates a series. And the series allows you to go down looking at the column names and their respective values. Again, very cool feature in Spider. Very versatile, very nice because, here, let me move this over a little bit. Can I move this? No, don't want to. Oops. Resize this, resize. Stop it. All right, so I go down and you can see all the different columns there are. So many, right? A lot of them are NaN. And you can explore what's coming back at you, right? And when you're doing this, you'll notice there's a column here called full underscore text, and there it has actual tweets. And this is a RT over here. You'll see a lot of RTs here. That's retweet for any of you guys who are not on Twitter. Retweet at Roscoe Davis, :: think about what at Peter Navarro said regarding Big Lie Bolton set up an autonomous zone in the White House with him as a warlord, ... Right? So I guess there's a lot of topics going about Bolton, who's a character in himself, right? So that basically has all the tweets. That basically has all the tweets. That full underscore text one. That's what we really want. All right? So that's how you can basically get all the recent tweets. And let's grab some of them. Let's take a look. So I do dd full text. Oh, it just gives me the first one. Right? Think about what Peter Navarro said, blah, 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 blah. I can basically just take this into another table. Oh, this will become a series in itself. But I could select one column as a table if I wanted to. So, right, if I do simply, now I do ddd equals dfst. And I do dd, this becomes basically a series, right? And now you have all the text right there. Bolton's book just reinforces Trump's clear pattern of misconduct. Violations by, this is another retweet. Still can't believe that ABC is preempting Press Your Luck Sunday night with give Bolton an hour information. Either way, Whammy will be involved. Deadline White House. Who wrote John Bolton's book? John Bolton or Adam Schiff? That was a funny one. A lot of these are just retweets. All right, some of these are just repeating it, etc., etc. A lot of propaganda going around. So that's what's happening there. All right, so that's how you can look at a certain topic. Now, let's say you want to find out what a certain person is saying. All right, what a person's tweeting. You just need their username, and you can use another function called user underscore timeline. All right, user underscore timeline. And now we can get all their tweets. For example, Donald Trump, right? If I wanted all his tweets, I would simply just say API.statuses.user underscore timeline. Screen name is a keyword from that function. I'm sorry, screen name is a parameter name. Real Donald Trump is the username. So, I mean, don't do Donald Trump if you don't want to. Pick any username you want, right? Any kind of person you follow on Twitter. And again, I'm going to do tweet mode extended. And let's see what he's saying. Hopefully he's having a meltdown. That's always the funniest. T. Jason, excellent. All right. And now I'm going to normalize it. So here, I think the normalization is just straight up. Plus work for us. It's on the main level. It's not a nested JSON object. I'll run this, and I have a df Trump table. A df Trump table right there. Oh, unfortunately. Oh, I just have one. What is this? I should have many. Why only have one? All right, hold on. Let me run this again. tJSON. Let's say change up the feature a little bit. Tweet mode underscore extended. Huh? They're only showing one tweet. What's going on here? Oh, is it suspended or something? Oh no. What did they do to Donald Trump's Twitter? All right, so I'm not getting all the tweets for Donald Trump. They might have changed something. Hold on, let me do count explicit. Let me change the count to 100. This might change it up. Maybe the features change a little bit. Oh yeah. So what happened was, I apologize, guys. So now, by default, you used to get 100 back. So now I have to explicitly put 100. I think I can maybe put 200 in this. Hold on. Oh, now I went back to 1. All right, fine. Let's do 100. And it goes back. Okay, we'll do 100. All right, so now if I click on this, sorry for that, guys. And now, again, I want to go to full text. Right here. We have our tweets. It was not ambassador's fault yesterday in the committee. That's perhaps blah, blah, blah. You know, it's easier if I just take it all. EDF Trump dot full text. Click on DD again. This will be easier for me to read. Let's see what he's talking about now. All right, cool. It was not Ambassador Lighthizer fault yesterday in committee, and that perhaps I didn't make myself clear. Retweet about Bolton. First thing the Anarchists did upon taking over Seattle was build a wall. Him with that freaking wall. Extraordinary rescue yesterday by our brave Semper Paratus U.S. Coast Guard. I will be releasing a new list of conservative Supreme Court just nominees, blah, blah, blah. I'm asking for a legal solution of DACA, not a political one. Religious liberty, among many other things, are over. Gone! All right. Okay, so he's having a good time. All right, so that's basically how you can get tweets of a particular username. I like checking out Mark Cuban, all these guys. Why is this relevant? A lot of times you guys know that we in the financial world, we like to see what other people are saying and other what's trending topics and whatnot. This is a great way to do it when people do it on Twitter. Obviously, it gets a little more complex because people go on to different shows and they post different articles. So to extract that information, it takes a lot more work. But I mean, there is obviously there's a reason I'm showing you guys this. There's a lot of relevance in terms of corporate, in terms of business applications. But anyway, we're just having fun right here anyway. So that's how you check out the tweets from a user, right? Download that data, and I'll show you guys how to get more later on. If you want to follow, if you want to get a list of followers of a certain person, let's say for instance you're in the business of T-shirts, right? Or you're organizing a some sort of event that you figure people that follow Trump would love to know about, right? You can get all the people that are following Donald Trump by using the followers.ids functionality. And what this will give you is this will give you another normalized object that will basically have, let me show you. So you can basically stalk all the followers of somebody else. Again, for any of you guys that stalking your ex-girlfriend, you can now get all her people following her and take your creepy quotient up a notch. Ladies, remember to always make your Twitter account private so nobody can, so any exes can't do that. All right, so here I got a list of all the followers, right? If I normalize this. All right, so now I have this pandas object, df follow, again, one row, and I have this column called IDs. That's what I want. All the IDs are in this, smashed into this one cell. All right. From here, guys, what we want to do is we'd want to grab all the values. We want to basically grab all the values we want. At this point now, though, I'm showing you how to use JSON Normalize because another way, because what happens here is our JSON object for IDs right here, right? I just showed you guys that. That's what we really want to normalize. So I showed you guys how to do that multiple times. Here now I'm going to show you how to use JSON Normalize, an additional feature within JSON Normalize, so that you can do it without having to go that extra step. Okay, so here, I'm going to use normalize in line 2 over here like I did before. But this time I'm going to add an additional parameter. I'm going to add the parameter of the internal JSON object that I actually want to normalize. What is the internal JSON object in here that I actually want to normalize? It's IDS, right? That's the name of it. Why? Because that's the column name it was given. So that's the inner JSON object within the outer df-fold JSON object that we really want to get to the heart of. We can circumvent that using the JSON normalize function. We just have to tell it. If you give a comma and then type in the name of the internal JSON object you want to normalize, it will go directly to that inner JSON object and it will normalize it. So for example, if I do, I have it right here. So let's take this line again. Let's name this df-all2, right? And now I know the name is IDS. I'm going to do comma and the name of that internal JSON object. I do this now. Now I have this table df-all2, And notice now it didn't normalize that outer JSON object. It totally circumvented it and went to the internal object and now normalized it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you have a massive table, which is one column, of all the IDs of the users that follow, in this case, Donald Trump. Now, very important, I want you guys to notice something. What's the column name of these IDs now? It's 0. It's not the name 0, no. It's the number 0. It's the number 0, okay? It's the number 0. That is wild, right? But yes, you can name tables, you can have column names that are numbers. Now, what are the ramifications of this? If the column name is a 0, when I use my LOC functionality, right? When I use my LOC functionality to grab that, to go ahead and grab that particular ID, right? I'm going to use the column name, which is 0. And that is the only time you will see us putting a number there in the column section of LOC. So let's take the first user. The first user, I kind of have it all over the place in my slides, but let's just do it like this. For default2 is, actually let's take the second user. Second user, index 1, there's only one column, 0. No quotes, no nothing, because the actual column name is a number. And now U0, it should be actually U1, but whatever. It gives me a number, the ID. I'm going to use this ID now to figure out who that person is. Again, this is what I say, make your Twitter account private, right? So I just used the function API users.lookup. I'll call this U0J for JSON object. I will give it the name U0 because that's what I got from line 94, the actual user ID. That's a JSON object right there. U0J is a JSON object. Let me normalize it. All right, and now I can click on my DFU0 right here. And now I have, it's one row and all these column names that basically give me a description of who these people are. When this account was created, 2010. Looks like it was created 2010. Description, Mexicano a las Cales, so it's from Mexico, right? There's the ID, California location, USA, background, screen name. This is the person's screen name right there. Do they have names here? Right? And obviously there's no real way to verify who it is. That's one of the funs of Twitter, apparently. Right? But anyway, I have the person's screen name. And from here, I can directly message this person now, right, using the direct message feature and say, hey, I got a Vote for Trump t-shirt you might be interested in buying, or we got some sort of event here for you MAGA Nation you guys want to check out, etc., right? So this is one of the ways in any kind of feature you're selling anything or you want to try to get some sort of business, drum up some business, more targeted business, this is the way to do it. You would basically go user by user, break it up. I mean, you could take actually a step further, go user by user, check out their tweets and see actually if they like Trump or don't like Trump or whatever you're selling, if they like chocolate chip cookies or don't like chocolate chip cookies, whatever, right? And see if you want to sell them a product that's pro that product or against that product, whatever, right? So this is the fun behind it. This is the fun behind it. And like I said, once we get that person's ID, right, we can actually use that ID directly. We don't have to use their screen name. We can use their ID directly to go ahead and see what they're tweeting about. So let's go ahead and grab that guy's ID and see what that person has tweeted about, right? So in this case, that person's ID was U0. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab his statuses, right? Just like I did with Trump. Actually, let me do this. Just like we did here with user timeline. I'll do with this guy. And this is one of the ways you can actually see, how many followers of somebody's legit. This is a lot of times comes into play to Instagram. There's a whole like sub economy in Instagram of people selling fake followers, so that it looks like you have a larger following, so that you can make money. I don't know, influencing things or something like that. So companies always want to see who's legit and who's not. So this analysis really comes into play, right? So instead of screen name in my parameter, I'm going to use the ID variable, and I'll put in the person's ID directly in, which is U0. All right. I will change this to, oh, what should we call this now? What should we call you? Whatever. TU0. So that's a JSON object. I'm going to go ahead and normalize this now. I'll call it df u0t. So we'll call it df 0t, whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll normalize this. Zero. All right, so now I have this table of this guy's tweets. Looks like he only has 25 tweets. All right, and I just want to see what his tweets are. An idea of it. Maybe it's a person, a company, I don't know what it is. Go to DD. All right, and now we can get an idea of what we're looking at here. All right. It's all Spanish. My Spanish is a little shaky. So, yeah. Okay, cool. Huh, all right. Not that active. I have no idea what he's saying. Felipe Calderon, that's all I pretty much see. All right, so, I mean, that's how you guys can basically get these tweets. So, whole treasure trove of information up here for specific information. I will obviously show you guys how we try to use it a little bit later in our next slide. I'll show you guys how to, in the next slide, basically, it'll be a smaller slide, smaller lab, but it's basically, I want to show you guys how to get now lots of information about a particular topic. So you can use it for, again, your, again, my Meta students capstone, think capstone, this might come in handy, right? So if you're, depending on what the project you're doing and what kind of data you need, what kind of ongoing analysis you're going to do. So this can become very powerful. It can become very powerful. And again, like I talk about in the financial world, we look at all kinds of alternative data. One of those things are what's trending. Maybe there's a certain product or service trending, and we want to know what's hot, what's not. Back in the days when Twitter first came out, I mean, it was all the rage. People were, there were some funds looking at tweets for iPhone tweets, right? And they would basically be using the enthusiasm of the iPhone tweets of a certain iPhone. They would basically gauge, okay, how strong the product quality is, or how much strong the product brand is among consumers, and they would basically do certain models and trade off that information, right? So there's a lot of relevance here. We're just keeping it light, but this is how basically I wanted to show you guys how to use the Twitter API. All right, guys. So this ends our lab 2. It's very simple. I mean, it's kind of complex, but it's a very simple lab. We don't do much, but I want you guys to be able to just get comfortable with the functionality. And we'll pick this up on lab 3 next. All right, guys? All right, this ends our video. I'll see you guys next time on the next video or the next QA session. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.